All right.
All right, well, so we are joined by Dania Christian, all the way from Horn Lake, Mississippi, in the Memphis area, owner of Giselle Audrey Couture, custom alterations, tailoring, designing, you name it, just going so hard in the apparel game right now. I got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for our friends at Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, Madison Central High School, and the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So we are in the manufacturing career cluster, and we've just got through talking about how even though manufacturing is a lot in the big Nissan and all that stuff, everything we wear has to be made. You know, when you put on some shoes or some pants, it's not just magically appearing.
Right.
That's what you do, and also you are an entrepreneur. So we're going to talk about that as well because, like I was telling the kids before we came on, I'm a huge fan of Jasmine Sullivan's music, but I do
Right.
that she just says I'm going to move to Atlanta, open a business, and be rich because it does not work like this. Again,
Not at all.
thank you for joining us. So, just
Yep.
talk a little bit about how you started getting into this, and a little bit about what all you do, and some of the products you do, and what skills it takes to be somebody that makes clothes.
Awesome. So I like a lot of designers, they grew up pretty much learning how to sew at a young age. I actually started when I was 19. So not until I went to Mississippi State for fashion design. I went there initially for photography. I was always in the art, field, but photography was my initial degree or program that I wanted to participate in while I was there. I took a few classes and just realized it wasn't for me, which that's common. Like, going into college, you're trying things out, just testing things out to see what you really want to do in life, as a career. So I met someone that was already in the fashion industry, the fashion program, and I was like, okay, I think this is more of my area. So I just took the initial sewing class, and from there, here I am 15 years later.
Yeah, and that's incredible. And I know you were actually in Jackson this weekend on your prom tour because
Right.
obviously prom season is a big time for you.
Very.
But talk a little bit about Giselle Autry. You know, what all do you make? How does it work? What do you specialize in? And how did you learn the business? Because obviously you can be a great seamstress, you can be a great designer, but you got to be able to run a business too. So talk a little bit about, what all you do and what all goes into that.
So I design formal wear now. I started off just like any special occasion, birthday dresses, some men's wear, but mostly women's wear. I didn't make my first formal gown until I got married. So that was back in 2018. So that was my first formal gown. Once I made that dress, I realized, okay, this is my outlet. This is my niche. I want to go into this area. And from there, I started making prom gowns. And once the word got out that, oh, she's from, a small town, it's hard to find like designers that, in this area without having to travel so far that can make prom gowns. Like mostly everybody, they don't want to wear the same thing that everyone else is wearing. So they were super excited. It was just, someone new in the area, and from there it just took off. I learned a lot at Mississippi State, but I did put forward the effort to learn other things just because I'm super passionate about it. I learned a lot outside of college. I just kept teaching myself different things, joined different sewing groups, paid for classes. I mean, it's an investment in, your passion. So
And you actually, for what you do it from the very beginning. You actually show them the
very,
drawn design using
yes,
using your art skills and take it all the way through. You ask what materials they want, and you actually go through the process of putting together yourself with the materials that are needed for the particular dress.
right. Yep. I start from the actual consultation, which is the whole purpose of the prom tour. It's just meeting with them, doing the consultation, getting their measurements, getting design ideas, sketching their garments out. they get super excited when they can actually see it on paper in color. Like they want to know what they're getting. So it's real fun. It's fun just to be able to interact with the clients, especially the young ones. Prom season is my favorite season. So yes.
Yeah, and the cool part is, it's like we said at the beginning, clothes just don't appear. They're really
Right.
it takes skill to make something that somebody can wear, somebody can be proud of, and you get to really see that curation from idea all the way to completion to where it's worn.
Right. Definitely.
So it's artistic skills and tailoring skills. So
Oh,
it's
definitely.
um now, obviously, you focus on the female wear, but if somebody wanted to focus in other areas of apparel, because obviously everybody needs clothes of all ages for all
Right.
occasions. So if somebody wanted to focus on menswear, and I know you've done a little bit of menswear yourself, what are some things that people may have to do to kind of focus on that area? Obviously, you do a great job of reaching your customers, but
Mhm.
every customer base is different. So what are some things people need to research if they wanted to make a certain type of clothes?
Just basically just figure out what people like. A lot of people, when it comes to custom, and I do alterations as well, like formal wear, bridal wear. That's a specific market. They want to be tailored. They want to look really nice. They want to stand out, from everybody else. So you just have to look for that. If you want to, I guess to answer your question, if you want to learn how to, sew and tailor clothing, I've met so many designers that didn't, they learned so much at school, and like I said, how I learned as well, just outside of school. It just takes a lot of patience, a lot of like just drive and ambition to really, because it's a growing market. It's a lot of people out there that do what I do, but you just have to be really dedicated since it's so competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Because of especially with the social media age growing, people want things that look good, and it's going to be
Oh,
competitive. But also at the end of the day, not only is it competitive, it's going to be, it's also a chance to really propel yourself. All it
yeah.
takes is the right social media hit, and it really takes off, which was a good segue to what I want to talk about next. Because even if these kids aren't interested in making their own clothes, even if they're not interested in the apparel industry at all, we have a lot of kids that say they want to be entrepreneurs. They say they want to be able to own their own business. I want to be my own boss. I don't want to work for the man, and that's great. And
Right.
like we said at the beginning, and I always just make the joke about, I love Jasmine Sullivan, but that song just makes me so mad. I think it's insulting to
Right.
especially young Black business owners to think that it's just so easy and I'm going to move to a big city and make all this money. It
No.
can be done, but it takes a little bit more than being able to be good at something, because obviously you're a talented designer. Just seeing some of your work is just amazing. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to market yourself. You have to be able
Yeah.
to sell, and you have to be able to run the financial aspect of a small business. So
Definitely.
let's just take the whole design idea out of it. What are some things you have to do when it comes to running a small business, especially as a Black business owner in Mississippi?
You really just have to just focus mostly on that customer. Like I said, have patience. I come from a background of just having like, customer service. So it really makes a difference when you can focus in on that customer and make sure that you're doing whatever it takes to make them happy at the end of the day. That's what it all comes down to. As far as like just being an entrepreneur, it doesn't necessarily take you to, you don't have to move. You don't have to move out of Mississippi. I will be honest, like I really wanted to move outside of Mississippi for the longest. I felt like, okay, it's a bigger city. They're more willing to pay, the what you're worth. But at the same time, I grew a lot of my clientele here in Mississippi, and like it would be crazy for me to even leave. Like I've connected with these people, the clients that I've, built relationships with for so long that, it would be pointless. Like it's definitely a way, especially with, the market that I'm in. If I can do it, anybody can do it in Mississippi or any small town. So
And it's like you said, if you're the only one nearby, you've offering a service that nobody else offers, no matter what it is.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, business owners solve a problem. They make things more convenient. They make things more accessible. Because if you're the only person around that can offer something at a decent price, that's good quality, people aren't going to drive to Memphis. People aren't going to drive to Jackson. People aren't going to drive to Atlanta. And people are going to appreciate that, because at the end of the day, we all know people will pay for convenience.
Right. Exactly.
And then also, a big mistake that I see so many entrepreneurs make, especially the ones that I've seen come out of high school, especially a lot of young Black business owners, is immediately they just try to focus on being the cheapest. And I tell them, you're not charging enough. You got to get out of that 17, 18-year-old mindset. And like you said, know your worth, charge what you're worth, because if your competition is charging way more than you, just because you're the cheapest doesn't mean you're going to make the most money.
Exactly.
So talk a little bit about how you determine that, and some strategies that maybe someone could have if they're in the hair business, or they're selling accessories, or selling, or or making t-shirts or whatever. How can they kind of focus on that and still be profitable?
And it's funny that you mentioned the hair industry, because I was just speaking with someone yesterday about, I see so many talented, like younger, just like individuals in general that know how to do hair, like super talented, but they don't charge enough at all. But it's just like, I know it's like a learning experience. They're young, they're a little timid to charge more. But just like advice that I give to anybody about charging, like your clients are going to look at that. You have a certain clientele that you want to market to. You, not saying that you don't have to market to the lower end, but you want to make sure you have that certain type of client that, good quality clients. It's like clients will pay whatever, if it's worth it, they'll pay for it. So I've never had any issues with, pricing, as far as like people saying that it's like just too much. If it is too much for them, then they'll, I'll respect it. And, I have a certain clientele that I work with. So it's definitely like, I just want to, my advice would be just put it out there. Just don't be scared to, charge what you're worth, get your profit. And at the end of the day, you can't make everyone happy.
Yeah, and and I always say the customers need you need the customers more than the customers need you. But
Right.
you also don't need the bad press, and you don't need the bad reviews. If you can provide great service and a great product for the customers you do have, you're not going to have to spend that money trying to advertise to get more customers. They're going to do it for you. So that is such a key to being a successful entrepreneur, whether you're in the clothing industry or not. That's something that I really want anybody watching now or watching later, even just a part-time entrepreneur. You really got to get out of that mindset of my friend said this and this and this. That's not who you're trying to market to. You're trying to market to the people that are outside of your friends.
Right.
Now, and before I get to some of the students' questions, because I know I got some, talk a little bit about, I'm glad you mentioned this, because you said originally you wanted to go out of Mississippi. And I know you do travel. I know you're going to Chicago.
I'm in Chicago.
Chicago right now. Oh, okay. Well, cool. So I knew you were going there. And you've also, you got stuff in Memphis. So you can still have a presence in those cities without getting away from your home market. So talk a little bit about how that works, because I think that's kind of cool, because obviously you have a good market there in the Memphis area and in other small areas of Mississippi, but you're still able to reach those big city markets.
Right. So the main reason I came to the decision to like just actually stay local, stay in Mississippi, is because I know, like I said, I've built my clientele, but I also love to travel. So it's so many, like just so many cities out here that I can visit, that I can go to. That's a part of what I do. So traveling is just, another thing that I enjoy to do that, is involved in fashion designing in general. So I would say, like, if you, and I'm close, most of my family is here too. So if you're like just on the fence about staying in Mississippi or moving, there's money here. It just all depends on, how you market it, how you set your pricing, your clientele that you're building. It's definitely possible. And then just because you're here doesn't mean you can't travel.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. Now, I got one more before I get to the students' questions, and I forgot about this. Is obviously we talked about the big social media age, and especially in the apparel industry. How do you use social media to market? Because again, you have some models of some customers. So how do you choose what customers to highlight? And how do you know getting the right angle on the photo? And there's a lot of hidden science to that. So how do you do that?
I get like I try to highlight, I try not to just, especially when it comes to prom, I don't want anyone to feel left out. So I use majority of the clients that I work with, especially for prom, because they're younger, they're excited. So I just tell them to take as many pictures as they can, send them to me. I don't really use too many models just because most of my designs are custom wear. So once I make it, I send it off to them, or they pick it up. As far as like clientele that I've worked with, like a higher end clientele, recently I worked with, she is a publicist. She's from Vicksburg. She was Miss Atlanta.
Melanie
She's on,
Sanders.
yeah, yeah, Melanie.
I know her well.
She's so awesome, but she is like the perfect person, the perfect model. She's super tall. I didn't
Yeah, she's
expect her.
like 6'2", 6'3". Yeah.
Yeah, my same height as my husband. So, but yes, like you just have those clients that they already know how to work a camera. They have a large community that follows them, and Melanie was one of those that I definitely enjoy working with her. Not only as a client, we built a friendship and everything. So
Oh, I mean, and again, I think that's a great thing too. You really want to pick the right brand ambassador. Don't
yeah,
do it just because somebody's your friend. You want somebody
right,
that's really going to gives out. At the end of the day, you can still be friends with somebody, but it's your money and your name on the line. You really want to put your best foot forward, especially in an industry like this, because you're making something that you want people to buy. So you want it to look good
right,
on
exactly.
when you have it. But I do have some questions from the students, and these are mainly ninth graders. Some of these are tough. So this is Jada Schaefer. It's one of our cheerleaders here at Velma Jackson, and she asked,
Okay.
"What is the funnest part of designing, and what are the steps that you would take to design to design something different?"
Um, the most fun part I would say is actually, like I said, sketching. And it's crazy because like I said, when I first started fashion, the program, I started off in photography, and I was taking like they required us to take a lot of drawing classes, and I definitely was not into drawing. That was not my thing. I still don't feel like that's like my main thing, but I love it the most just because I get to be creative, especially when I get a client that comes to me and they have no idea. I had a prom client recently. She didn't know any details about what she wanted. She just wanted me to figure out what silhouette looked best on her, like for her shape. I asked, her favorite colors. That's like the main part. I guess the consultation and sketching all together, just because you get to, use your creativity, use your imagination.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, and that's the cool part is you get to do what the client wants because obviously you don't want to design something they don't want to wear, but you could
Right.
follow their lead to design something they may not have thought of. So that's where you become the expert. So that's really cool to have the artistic and the skill in there together. Now this is Jayla Graham, and
Mm-hmm.
she wants to be a designer, wants to get into the industry. And
Awesome.
she asks, "What do you think would be the best schools for fashion or attire? And could I talk to you and ask about shadowing you about some design ideas?"
Like I love anybody that wants to shadow me. I used to when I actually I lived in DC after I left Mississippi State, and I had a lot of younger kids. They were younger than y'all, but they were between the ages of 6 and 12, and I taught them sewing classes there. But I had some afterwards just like shadow me, and they just wanted to go a little bit further. But I would say, like I said, I went to Mississippi State for fashion design. They have a bigger program now if you did want to stay local. Um, they also, I think they have online classes too. But you also have, if you were looking to move to like a bigger city, they have FITM in Los Angeles. Another school that I, applied to or wanted to go to was SCAD in Savannah, Georgia, which is not too far from Jackson. And it's like those schools in particular, they go more in depth, like in the fashion design industry. So either one. I don't regret going to Mississippi State to learn it. Like I said, I learned so much there, and if I had to go back and do it again, I would. But yeah, you definitely reach out to me.
Yeah, and
Anytime.
we'll get your social media there here before we go.
Yeah.
But also, and I'm a Southern Miss alum. Southern Miss also has a great fashion design program, and they do a
Yes.
lot of things with the Mardi Gras ball on the coast. Where they have a lot of great. They design a lot of those Mardi Gras dresses. So a lot of
Yes.
great opportunity right here in Mississippi for that.
Right.
This is Michael Sherrill, and he asked, "What do you enjoy most about your job?"
Um, the most. So I also, besides like just I run my business full time, I also do alterations for Davis Bridal. They kind of brought me back in. I used to be an alterations manager there, and I left back in April to take on, designing my own, running my own business full time. So really just the best part about it is just connecting with the customers. Like, especially with brides, they'll come in for alterations. They're in this like gown that's like 2 times too big, like 2 sizes too big. And they're like, they have no idea what it's supposed to look like, how it's supposed to actually look on them. So once I pin it to their body frame, they're like, their eyes just light up. The whole room just lights up. And that's, the exciting part, because I feel at that point, they trust me now. So that's just connecting with them and being able to, get earn that trust from them is exciting.
Yeah, and you also brought up a good point there is that I did not realize this I started having so many entrepreneur guests is that most entrepreneurs, even if they are a full-time entrepreneur, at least keep some kind of part-time employment that
Yep.
has some sort of steady income. And especially
Right.
as kids, if they're not paying for benefits, that allows them to spend even more money on their business.
Right. Especially now, I just recently opened my studio that I work out of and meet my clients at. But and I'm thankful that my company, they allow me to even still be there. They really enjoy me, being there with the company and just being able to help out along with having my full-time job. So definitely it doesn't like that was my first actual design job. And I was thankful that they gave me that opportunity, not having any experience in an actual corporate job.
Oh yeah. Now this is Jordan Smith. He's one of our athletes here. He also
Okay.
wants to get into designing, and he asks, "What keeps you motivated?" Because I want to design my own line and start my own business.
It took a while for me to figure out what, just like I was in that mindset of, okay, Mississippi, I'm here. I don't really have like much around me that really just, gives me that artistic or fashion vibe. But I research a lot, I travel a lot, and that keeps me motivated. I was just speaking with my niece yesterday about I partnered with the same person that introduced me to the fashion industry 15 years ago. If you can find someone in the industry, it makes a huge difference. Like, it helps so much just to have somebody in that same field. So when I'm feeling down or not having like the best day, with whatever I'm doing fashion related, I know that the partner, the person that does the same thing as me, I know she's probably just, she'll have some encouraging words or something that'll pick me up. So that's what keeps me motivated, just traveling and having somebody, maybe more than one person, really, just to keep you going, even if they're not in the same field as you.
Yeah, it's always about improving your circle. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
This is Caitlin Perry, also one of our cheerleaders, and she asked, "What is your biggest inspiration for your new ideas and designs?"
My daughter actually, I started teaching her how to sew when she was 4. Um, she does a little on the machine, but she's more of an illustrator actually. So she will take my iPad and just sketch all day. That's, like I said, that's the opposite of what I usually do. She's more of the illustrator. So it'll take her maybe like 30 seconds just to sketch something. And I'm like, that is just is mind blowing just to see what she comes up with in that small amount of time. So that she definitely inspires me and just keeps me going.
There's a lot more technology in this industry than people realize.
Oh yeah.
I've got two more from the students. This is Booker Carter, and he asked, you obviously worked on several successful projects, but do you ever feel defeated when you have a project you thought would be successful that is not?
I have actually. It's been, I can't even think of how many, just to be realistic and just be honest. I guess I would say a recent project that I had to work on for someone who they're pretty well known in the Memphis area. I was asked to come out and like just tailor like their suits and then their bridal party, well, their wedding party suits. And I just didn't, I guess they didn't give me enough time to actually do the amount. I didn't expect them to have a large wedding party. So I just felt a little defeated that I couldn't finish the whole party, even though I knew in my mind if I had the time that I would have been able to. But it was still just having that opportunity to work with that person that was well known in the city, just around the area. It was still, a great opportunity.
All right, yeah, and again, sometimes the customer can be the one that causes the problem. They don't give you enough time because I hate when
Yeah.
people last minute stuff. All right, let's got one more from the students. This is Jaden Thompson, and he asked, "What is the key to building a successful customer base as a small business owner?"
So I actually, it's really networking. I would say traveling helped me a lot, just going to different, and you don't necessarily have to travel. But I just love to, and I met a lot of people just along the way. Just not being afraid to speak to someone, just a random person like today. Just in Starbucks, I just spoke to a random person about what I do. They said they were traveling from another country and they were just here on a business trip as well. So just connecting with the person, you never know who you run into, you never know who you meet, but you won't know if you never, if you don't speak up. So networking is the key.
Yeah, you never know who somebody else knows. Now we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us, especially on short notice.
You're
Again,
welcome.
but before we go, it's Black History Month, and there's always a need for more young Black kids to become entrepreneurs, to get into the apparel industry, because it was very largely white dominated for years, and that's
Right.
changed greatly in the last 20 years or so. But there's always a need for Black owned businesses. So even if these kids, obviously that we've got a couple that want to get into the apparel industry, but even if they don't want to, why should they consider becoming small business owners, even if it's on the side? Because the business world needs them. So and you're from Mississippi, you grew
Right.
up with a young Black girl in Mississippi just like they did. So what can they do now to follow in your footsteps, and why does the business world need them?
Just stay focused. We definitely need more entrepreneurs out here, more people that will be leaders, and less followers. You just really, entrepreneurship is, I will say, it is tough, like just getting out there. You just have to have patience. It takes a lot. You will get a lot of negative comments. You just have to overlook it and just stay, really, I just have to have tunnel vision about, my goal. I know what my goal is. I've been focused on the same dream since I was 19, and I've never let anyone take that away from me. So as long as you stay focused and make sure that's really what you want to do, whatever it is as an entrepreneur, just make sure that that's what you want to do and focus in on that, invest in it, and travel, meet clients, meet new people every day. Just meet someone new. Just make that your goal.
Absolutely. Now, before we go, tell us where to find you on Instagram for those of you that want to connect, and tell us where to find if they want to buy a prom dress, because prom season's here.
Yeah.
It's still not too late.
Right. I was trying to see if I could share my screen. I know how to do it,
Sure.
but
Yeah,
so what'd you say?
yeah, you can share it. I have it enabled.
Okay. Well, if I can get to it, but let's see. Try to go to, let me know if you can see it.
I do.
Okay, let's see. Get to my Instagram. So my actual Instagram with all of my prom gowns is gonna be Giselle Audrey Couture. So
DC
this is
Taylor, yeah.
so you can actually follow my DC underscore the tailor, and that's like that'll take you to my actual page. So my business page and this is my personal page, which both of them have most of my work. So if you want to reach out, if you are thinking about prom in the future, if you have any questions at all and just want guidance on how to get into the industry, feel free to just reach out. And I'm always here. I'm the nicest person ever, so don't be afraid to ask any questions.
I agree. So again, thank you so much for taking some time for us today. Dania Christian, all the way from Chicago, owner of Giselle Audrey Couture. Thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
You're so welcome. Y'all have a good day.
All right, be safe. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.